Companies that run on EOS have very specific kinds of meetings. We call them level 10s because at the very end of the meeting, you rate it. Was it a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or a 10? The idea is when you work in a company that runs on EOS, you're in meetings where everybody's trying to make it a better meeting week after week after week. You want those meetings to be a level 10. One of the great things about running on EOS is all of your meetings are set up to be places where you show up, you're open, you're honest, you're vulnerable, you solve your issues right there in the meeting instead of running around in the hall and solving them with everybody else in a way that feels yucky or gossipy and for sure is not productive at all. Here's how a level 10 works. Same day, same time, same agenda. It starts with a segue. You're coming together as a team. Then you take a look. It's so great. It's the same exact agenda every single time. You take a look at your numbers. Are we on track? You take a look at your rocks, your most important projects that you're working on. You take a pause and say, what are we hearing from our customers or our vendors or our employees? What are the big headlines that everybody in the room is seeing? You go through a to-do list. So things that people committed to last week, you actually check in. You make sure they're done. And then you spend time IDSing. So you spend time solving issues. At the very end of the meeting, you rate the meeting. And it's a rating of 1 through 10. 1 is a terrible meeting. Honestly, I don't know what it looks like. Maybe somebody fell asleep or threw a punch or some horrible thing. I believe you're not having level 1 meetings. A 10 is a great meeting. It started on time. You followed the agenda. Everybody who showed up was open, honest, and vulnerable. You found really important issues and you solved really important issues. That's a level 10 meeting. And my wish for you is you have 10s week after week after week. Great level 10 meetings start on time, and it's Vince Lombardi time. It means everybody's there hanging out 5 minutes beforehand, chatting, telling dumb jokes, whatever they're doing, so that you can absolutely start on time and then end the meeting on time. So that it's an efficient use of everybody's time, meetings don't bleed into other meetings, and you're able to really focus on your work when you're not there. Every level 10 starts with a segue. It's brief. It's not 45 minutes of goofing around. It's not aimless chatter. It's everybody sharing in a vulnerable way, in a real way, what's their best news in the last week, personally and professionally. It's a great way to get to know your colleagues without wasting time and without having to overshare in the meeting as well. At your level 10s, you're looking at scorecard numbers. Every single scorecard should have somebody who owns that number, meaning hitting that number, a goal for every number, and then what was the actual number. This isn't about micromanaging you. It's not about embarrassing you or making you feel ashamed. You think about it, it's like a football game. You don't play a football game without a scorecard or without a scoreboard. You always know where you're at in the game. This is a chance. Think about your work as a game. Am I hitting my numbers? Are my colleagues, are my teammates hitting their numbers? This is a chance to help each other hit your numbers week after week after week. Going through rocks. You go through your rocks very briefly. In a level 10 agenda, the way I teach it, I say there's 5 minutes for this. It doesn't take 5 minutes. If you're spending 5 minutes reviewing your rocks, you're spending too many. All you're doing is saying, here's the rock. Is it on track or off track? At Rihm Family Companies, if you're great at your job, your boss should trust that you can get your rock done in 90 days. But also, you're checking in as a team every week. Are you on track or off track? And if you're off track, you get to put it down to the issues list and get some help. Customer and employee headlines. That's such an important part of a level 10. Please make sure you pause there. Share what you're seeing. What are you hearing? Maybe you heard somebody in another department just got a new puppy. Share it. Maybe you're hearing from a lot of customers. They're upset about something you haven't heard before. Share that. That might go to the issues list. It might be something that needs to be solved. And when you're sharing what you're seeing and what you're hearing, you have a better chance of getting your issues solved and, of course, solving issues for customers and for vendors. Every level 10 includes a chance to go through the to-do list. This really increases the chances that, for my own level 10s, that I'll actually do what I agreed to do because I have to come back and talk about it. It's also a chance to keep that momentum going on your team. People do what they say they're going to do, and they do it week after week after week. Just like with the scorecard or the rocks, if you don't have a to-do done, this isn't an opportunity for all of your colleagues to embarrass you. It's an opportunity to put it down to the issues list and find out. Maybe you committed to something you shouldn't have. Maybe you didn't have time to do it. Maybe it wasn't the right thing to do. This is a chance to get it figured out, and next week come back with all of your to-dos being done. Here's a tricky thing about a level 10. What a lot of teams do is, especially when they use the great software that you have, is they'll pick a to-do and they'll put a date far out in the future for when it will be to done. An ideal to-do is defined as something that will be done in 7 days. So take your time in your level 10 and decide what can actually get done in the next week. Then you get every week to say, we're done, we did it, to-dos are done, they're done, they're done. It actually feels fun to get your to-dos done. I know that sounds nerdy, and it is nerdy, but it feels good when all of the to-dos are done and you can just keep moving forward with your work. The biggest part of your level 10s, the most amount of time in your level 10s, and really truly every meeting you're in, if it's not a level 10, at least 50% of your time should be on IDSing. It's how you solve issues at Rihm Family Companies. It's how companies that run on EOS solve issues. IDS stands for Identify, Discuss, and Solve. There's two parts of identify. Part of it is just noticing there's an issue and getting it on the issues list. Maybe you put yourself on the issues list sometimes. I know I have. The next part of identifying is saying, what are the most important issues we could solve today? Part of a great meeting is solving important issues and not silly issues. So you're prioritizing your issues. What's 1, 2, 3, the most important issues? And then once you have that first issue, you're taking some time to say, what's the root cause of this issue? Right? So if your customers are upset, if lots of people are upset, you could solve for 7 hours and not get to, actually, what's the root cause? What's going on? Are things late? Are they having to come back? Is it because things are too expensive? Is it because it's raining? If it's raining, you can't solve that. Other things you can. So take some time to say, what's the root issue? Why are lots of customers upset? Or specifically, why is this one upset? When you get to the root issue, then you discuss it. Instead of talking about a million things, you talk specifically, okay, they're upset because they're having to come back. Okay, why are they having to come back? What's going on? What are we doing or not doing that's making our customers have to come back when they don't want to or feel like they should have to? And then you identify what's the solve. It's almost always a to-do, meaning something that can be done in the next week. Really important when you're IDSing, please be open, be honest, be vulnerable. Don't have 1,000 thoughts in your head and then tell someone later, oh, we should just do this. Say it right there in the meeting. That's what makes it a great meeting. You can move on with your day when you've said what needs to get said. Here's an example of how you might IDS something. Let's say the picnic table where people like to sit for lunch is broken. It gets prioritized in the level 10, and you start with, what's the root issue? So why did it get broken? Is it because somebody's vandalizing from the neighborhood? Is it because team members are doing something to it? Is it because it was just an old picnic table? Is it because you had too big of a party? What is the root issue of this? Let's say you discuss it and you realize it's just an old picnic table. That's what was the cause of this. Then you discuss. So what do we do about the fact that we have an old picnic table? Does it make sense to repair it? Does it make sense to replace it? Does it make sense to get rid of it altogether and never have a picnic table again, right? You discuss as a team. What makes sense? How do we discuss? Or what do we want to do? If you decide the right answer is to fix the picnic table, I can't believe that would be it, but let's say, right, that's what you decide, then someone takes a to-do. A to-do might look like somebody's going to go get the lumber that's needed to fix the picnic table in the next week. The next week then, when you come to your to-dos and the to-do is go pick up new lumber for the picnic table, it's either done or not done. The end of the meeting is the rating. You go through, you make sure everybody's clear on their to-dos, and then you rate the meeting, 1 through 10. Now, I'm not saying you should just run around saying, oh, it's a level 10, I'll call it a 10. But the idea here is this. Whoever's facilitating your level 10s, you're not grading them. You're grading how did we all do. And when you all know what a great level 10 is, you should all be able to help it be a 10. If you're going off on a tangent, anyone can say, that's a tangent. If you're trying to solve 3 issues at once, anybody in the room can say, we're trying to solve 3 issues at once. What are we solving? That's a great meeting. At the end of the meeting, please rate it honestly. Is it a 1 all the way through a 10? With the idea that you're trying to get to a 10.